It's that time once again for another list. Now we have done the 5 action JRPGs you should play, and we've also done the indie games that you should play, but now it's time for the big one. Now today we are going to focus on one thing, and that is, wait for it, turn-based combat. Now with that in mind, let's look at 7 turn-based JRPGs that you should play. Let's have a look! Now we start off this list with the daddy of all turn-based games, and that is Dragon Quest XI-S, Echoes of an Elusive Age S. Man, that is a long title. Anyway, now in this beloved JRPG, we follow our hero, the Luminary, as he journeys to discover the fate which has awaited him since birth. Now this game is beautiful and is seen as a modern classic JRPG, and no wonder. The game is gorgeous, as I said, the characters are fantastic, and the story in this is amazing. Now we're talking about turn-based combat and Dragon Age's combat. Dragon Age? Dragon Age? See, I'm getting so excited about this game, I am getting the name wrong. But anyway, Dragon Quest combat has relatively stayed the same throughout the whole series. And why change something when it's not broken? The gameplay is fantastic, this world is fantastic, and I would highly recommend anyone that is looking to delve into Dragon Quest for the first time to pick this one as their first. But anyway, have you played Dragon Quest before? Let me know in the comments down below, and let's see what's next up on this list. Now next up is Chained Echoes, the indie JRPG masterpiece which was released in 2022. Now this indie JRPG sports gorgeous pixel art, and the story is fantastic, and you play as multiple different characters, so you'll see multiple scenarios. Now this has a unique turn-based combat system, so you'll see on the top left there that there is an overdrive meter. Now depending on the attack, it will either fill or decrease that meter, and you're wanting to stay in that green bar, because it will make sure that your team are working in sync and your attacks will hit harder. Now if you're looking for an indie JRPG which is reminiscent of Final Fantasy, Chrono Trigger and Xenogears, it is right here, and this is definitely worth your time. So if you have played this game, let me know down below. Well, if you're thinking, wow, this looks spectacular, which you really should be thinking that, let me know down below, and we'll see what's next up on the list. Now next up is Am Setsuna, the JRPG which looks to recapture the golden age of JRPGs. Now in this game we follow Setsuna in her journey of sacrifice, where at the end of her journey she will sacrifice her life in a ritual, which means that there will be a calm brought back to the world. That's pretty grim like. Now the characters have a very chibi style look to them, and there is a world map to boot, which is always great to have a world map, isn't it? And the combat in this game is fantastic, and you can see the influence purely from Chrono Trigger here. It's just a barrel of fun. Now let's also be clear with this game, it has a beautiful soundtrack, and the soundtrack accompanying the desolate snowy world, oh, 10 out of 10. But anyway, what I want to know is, have you played Am Setsuna, or are you now looking to play this for the first time? Let me know in the comments down below, and let's see what's next. Now next up is The Legend of Heroes Trails from Zero, the first game in the Cross-Bell duology. Now this game has finally been brought westward by Falcom, and I tell you what, it is a utter classic. So in this game we follow Lloyd Bannings and the SSS in their fight against injustice within Cross-Bell. Now with any Falcom game, you will be in for a treat. It will be full of characters you will fall in love with, a story which is just fantastic, and a world just full of lore to discover. Plus, let's be honest here, any Falcom release has a banger of a soundtrack. Now, it does sport turn-based combat, obviously because it's in this list. Now, battles take place on an isometric plane, and on the left-hand side, you will see the lineup of who will take the next action, and there will be buffs and debuffs as well, which will be thrown into battle. Now, positioning in battle is important in this game, as you might want to attack someone, but you might be out of range, thus losing your turn. Now, each character does sport a S-Craft, which is essentially a powerful special move. And I tell you what, I highly recommend that you play this game. But you may have already played this game, and if you have, let me know in the comments down below. Now let's see what's next. So next up is Final Fantasy IX, and I have gone for a utter classic game. Now you might be thinking, hold on, yes, we've all played Final Fantasy, but why this one? The reason being is that this is the highest rated turn-based Final Fantasy on Metacritic, so I thought it deserves a place on the list. Now in this classic JRPG, we follow Zidane and companions travel the globe of Gaia. That's a funny name. Gaia! Gaia, Gaia, Gaia. Do I need to say anything more about this game? I mean, we all know Final Fantasy is great. So, why don't we move on to the next entry? Now next up is Lost Odyssey, the modern JRPG classic brought to us by the creator of Final Fantasy himself, Hironobu Sakaguchi. In this game we follow the immortal Kain on a quest to reclaim 1000 years of lost memories. Now the Xbox 360 exclusive, which will probably stay there sadly because Mistwalker doesn't really move their games anywhere else. It's a fantastic experience, it has got amazing characters and a lot of emotion in the story. And in a lot of people's eyes, they see this game as the true Final Fantasy XIII. Now the game sports turn-based combat which is reminiscent of Final Fantasy. And what would you expect when it's made by Hironobu Sakaguchi, the father of Final Fantasy? So dust off that 360 and get this game played. Or maybe you've already played it. Let me know in the comments down below. And let's see what's next. And the final entry is Live Alive, however you want to say it. Now this was the surprise release of 2022, which is a 2D HD remake of the Japan-only Super Falcom game. Now in this game we follow 8 different characters in 8 different time periods with 8 different stories. Now, that could be the likes of Pogo, who is in the prehistoric era, or Cube, who is in the distant future. Now, during battle, a grid appears and you are able to move your characters into position to unleash deadly attacks. But keep an eye on your movement, because when you move, the enemy will move and their gauge will also fill up, so they may attack you first. And this is one of my most highly recommended games that I will ever ask you to play. So there we have it, 7 turn-based JRPGs that you should play. Any of these games you're now going to play? Let me know down below. And help me grow the channel by liking, sharing and subscribing. And until next time, tatty bye!